Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of The Circle. Now, this is where the lighting is dramatic, the emotions are real, and the tech glitches are part of the charm. If you can hear me and see me, type banana in the chat. And if you can't, well, this is awkward. No, seriously though, I'm glad you're here. This space isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. Whether you're here to speak, listen, or just gently vibe in the corner, just let you know that you belong here. Now, this week's topic of conversation is the masks we all wear. And what do I mean by the masks we wear? Now, the masks that we wear of all, sort of like the I'm fine smile, the holding it together act, and the quiet storms we hide behind closed doors. We'll talk about why we do it, what it costs us, and why we can't start showing up a little bit more honesty with the people who care. Now, expect real talk, a few laughs about our own emotional camouflage, and the kind of gentle honesty that makes this space feel safe. Now, whether you're a master of poker face or someone who cries at the TV adverts, you're welcome here. Now, just to check in, how we all doing tonight? How are you arriving here? Just to make sure that everybody's doing okay, or be honest. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Things have happened in my personal life. I'm not okay at the minute. The situation is a little too raw for me to speak about at the minute, but I will bring that situation up as and when it's appropriate to do so. So as again, tonight we are talking about the masks we all wear. The Oscar-worthy performance we all give when we're inside. We're one minor inconvenience away from a meltdown. I think we've all had days like that, and I think we've all played it off with the I'm fine or I'm doing okay. And you know what? If that's what gets you through the day and that helps, then use them. But I think it's time we can. I think it's time and feel safe enough and secure enough in our own selves to let that mask slip a bit and be honest about it. So, what's your go-to mask for the day? What's your go-to mask? Is it the I'm fine smile, the busy mask, or the I'll deal with it later mask? Just drop it in the chat, whichever one you're wearing today. Let's say I'm not doing fine. I'm not okay at the minute. I'm putting on the, I'm champion. I'm all good stuff with that. I'm keeping myself busy sort of mask to stop myself from completely falling apart. Now, when did you first? Just the first question. Get it out. Get it started. When did you first learn how to hide how you feel, and what situation brought that on? I learnt from a very young age how to hide how I feel. As I explained on a previous circle session, I was bullied a lot as a kid and growing up. This isn't for sympathy or anything, but I learnt to take them punches and play them off as playing football, accidents, that sort of thing. I did play as a goalkeeper, so the odd bust nose, bust slip and stuff like that, nobody would play a second mind to. And I used that sort of mask and them sort of deflections for many, many years. Now, it's okay to do that. No one's going to trash you for doing that, and especially not in this setting. Nobody will ever trash you for wearing a mask. I think we all do. I think some of us just need to be a bit more honest about that. We are wearing one. There's people out there who are genuinely giddy, happy all the day and stuff like that. And me, being me, I've always said there's something You know, if you're that happy all the time, there's something wrong. And I'm probably being the biggest skeptic there. You know, probably not. There is people who is genuinely happy with their lives and stuff like that. And you know, I'm not going to knock it. And more power to you if you are, and that's fine. You know, if you want to anybody wants to explain what their difference is between privacy and pretending is, I mean, privacy to me is things that I keep private. I don't tell anybody. But pretending is something I do quite regularly. I'm a different person at home than I am at work. More at work, I'm more of a character. I'm playing my job role, really. I'm not being me fully. I'm more disguised there. I know that I have to act and be a certain way in my job, or else I would get into trouble. But I think we all wear these sort of masks and templates and whatever other name you want to put on it, just so people don't ask too many questions. And sometimes we're in places where we don't want to answer them questions just yet. And that's fine as well. Nobody wants to be bombarded with questions. If everybody went around as the true selves without the masks on and stuff, I think we'd spend 99% of the day asking each other questions about how and why we're feeling like that. In some settings, that would be highly beneficial to a lot of people, I think. Just to take the mask off, be honest and open of how you're feeling. And I think that would be healthy if we could foster and harness some of that energy and sort of like that confidence to do that, to be safe enough in ourselves and secure enough in ourselves to say, look, no, I'm not okay. This is what's happening in my life. This is why I'm not okay. But this is how I'm getting through the day. I'm not perfect. I'm not completely secure at the minute. I've got good people around me and that helps. But if anybody else wants to let us know how they're doing today, you know, let us know. You can be anonymous if you want. Just drop it in the chat and we'll start that conversation. Make sure we can all be a bit more honest with each other. You know, I think I had one colleague tell me that some of us have masks so good, even Marvel should hire us, and I had to laugh at that because some of us do wear really, really good masks. You won't tell that person's breaking down the inside and they've got horrible stuff happening or not so great things going on. They might be not well on the inside or family stuff happening, and they're playing it off so well you wouldn't know what was good. And I applaud them people. Some people can wear a mask and hide their true selves better than others. So, you know, what do you think would happen? What would happen, and are we all afraid? What would happen if we were actually honest? I mean, I'm not afraid of honesty, and I'm not afraid of someone being brutally honest with me. If it's valid, I'll accept it. That's no problem. I will try argue a point if it's not. But if I was honest to someone, like, you know, with them, I'd expect to take that on board just as much as people would with me. If someone gave me some honest stuff that I had to deal with and I had to accept, or, you know, I had to listen to, and that's fine. I think we can all help each other in that way, be a bit more honest, a bit more open with each other. Like I say, trusted friend, family member, colleague, anybody, like, could even be a gym buddy or member of your sports team or friend group. As long as you can be honest with somebody and just open up to somebody, then you've got a real chance of settling some issues inside. If you can just let them all out, there's no good bottling it up. You know, these masks, I like the bottle top, really. It keeps everything off the surface. But sometimes you've got to let that pressure inside out sometimes, and you've got to release it sometimes. And I think talking helps. You know, sometimes talk to a stranger, random person you never spoke to ever at work or anything like that. Just strike up a conversation and be honest and open with them, because they'll be unbiased. You know, who taught you that being strong meant being silent? I think that's so backwards. Being silent and strong, it sounds contradictory to me. If you're strong, you should have that presence. You know, you shouldn't have to say much that people think, you know, he looks or seems really secure in himself. But also have the confidence and the strength to say, you know what, yeah, I might look the bad, but I am falling apart. But I'm trying to get through the day. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the whole thing about it is, you know, the masks are there as a temporary solution. I don't think wearing the mask full time is healthy. If it gets you through the day and you're taking off at home, fair play, that's a good balance. But wearing it 24/7, 365 is not going to help anyone, especially yourself. And that's how I've always been open with everybody in this community and on these sort of streams and stuff. Like, you can speak to me, whatever you say to me in private goes no further. And whatever, and if we are friends in the outside world, you know, you tell me some stuff, you know, it will go no further than the four walls that we're in or in the setting we're in. It won't go any further between me and the other person. I can keep that sort of information, no problem at all, and I would never use it against you, because that's some sensitive information. You're being open, you're being honest, and I can only thank you for trusting me with that information. So I think we need to build a bit more trust in the community as well, and with other people, so we can have that at least one person where we can speak to in quiet, or just, even if it's over a text message, I need to tell you something, just reach out. It's healthy. Now I'd just like to invite everybody else who can hear this to you know, share one reason why you hide your feelings, your true feelings anyway. Why do you hide them? Is it because some people might not be able to handle it? You might not be able to handle, you know, spreading them feelings out there, you know, making sure people know what you're feeling. Are you afraid of it bouncing back on you? You know, and people, you know, judging you and, you know, calling you all them other things like manipulative or toxic or whatever else, which is some bullshit terms, to be fair. If someone's being open with you and honest, that's what it should be. You shouldn't take it any other way. I certainly couldn't, and I definitely wouldn't. You know, one thing that I have done throughout my relationship with my now wife, I wore my mask for a long time. It took a while for me to just take off that mask a little bit so she could see the real me. And to be honest, I thought she'd run a million miles away, and I wouldn't have blamed her all them years ago. Looking back now, I didn't even like that version of me. But, you know, I think we all can be like that. I think it's a coping mechanism to get through the day, and just to make people like us, really. I mean, be honest with yourself and say, if they can't like me for who I am, faults and warts and all, I don't want to be around that person. Whether it's a long-term partner, a friend, a family member, if they can't accept you for everything that you are, the good points and what they conceive as the bad, then you don't need them people in your life. I'm being honest, I've cut out so many people because they didn't want to be, you know, around a person like me at that time, and that's fine. And that's why I've called this show The Circle, because my circle is very small, but I am open to expanding it, and I'm open I can be part of your circle, your own individual circles as well going forward. I like to think to myself that I could become a trusted source, a trusted person with your own lives, eventually. I know everything like trust and stuff like that's got to be built up, and that's fine. I can completely get that. I won't let someone in my circle on day one. I'm going to have to figure you out and where your intentions truly lie. So moving on again, I mean, have you ever surprised someone with being honest? and it went better than expected. I'm fortunate that I've got a few friends and my wife, my now wife anyway, that I was open and honest with them, and they accepted that. They actually had to ask me to elaborate on why and who I was back then when I first met them to who I am now. Some of them didn't believe that story. They didn't think so. And some of them already knew. But I think that, sometimes it does surprise people because some people are more receptive, are more empathetic and sympathetic to another person's life and how they've had to get to this point in life. So it's not like everybody's travelled the same road. We haven't. Some of us have travelled a safe, straight, happy, no nonsense road. Nothing of bad's happened to us sort of road. And bravo if you have. That's fantastic. And some of us have had a journey a little bit like Spaghetti Junction. Twists and turns, bumps and crevices, potholes and roadblocks. And we've had to detour a few times. And that's also fine. It's part of the journey. Some people like the straight road, some people prefer the scenic route. And I'm all good for a little bit of scenery, as long as it doesn't take us off the edge of a cliff. So yeah. So we've got to navigate these roads and streets and boulevards of life carefully, at a respectable speed. Not something that's going to get us all in trouble. So if you have got them stories about you being honest with people, share them with us. Put them in the comments, put them in the chat, anything like that, and we can go into that deeper in another episode, or maybe even tonight if you have the time to expand on it further. I'd love to have a chat with some of you about your stories and life stories, because I think everybody's journey is fascinating. Even if it is the straight road, no bumps, no potholes or anything like that, or it is Spaghetti Junction. Let's talk about it. Let's not to compare, but to to realise where everybody's come from and where they are now and what that journey's been like. So, little bit of let's exercise a little bit of a grounding moment, a grounding session, shall we say? So let's take a breath. Drop your shoulders, because you're safe here. Just relax. Let's just take that big deep breath, take the stress and worry out of the day. Let that mask come off. You are safe in this space. Let's keep that here, and let's keep that same energy in this circle, because it's a safe space for everyone. So, right, let's just I'm gonna quickly just have a quick stand up and a stretch and hydrate, and question your life choices, whatever works. That's better. I think if I get any more stiff, I will need a little bit of WD-40 for the back and the shoulders, I think. This chair's not helping neither. So, how's everybody doing at this point in the session? Are we all doing okay? Yeah? Outstanding. Lovely. So, yep, get yourself a drink, get yourself resituated, comfortable, and let's get moving forward. So, what does honesty actually look like? What does taking the mask off look like in real life? Now, taking the mask off is also being quite vulnerable, I think, and making yourself very, very vulnerable, but that also shows an enormous amount of strength to take that mask off in front of people. And I think it's a very brave thing for anybody to do, especially when they've been going through a tough time. Let's take that mask off. Let's be honest. Let's be open. How can we be honest without oversharing or overwhelming ourselves? And that's a good point. What's the point of, oversharing with people, but not overwhelming yourself with the information you want to share? I think the point is, to keep it brief, to the point, and invite the natural conversation about the points you wanted to share. If we met up and if we start to decide let's trade life stories, we could be here all night. Of course, that'd be oversharing. But the points of why, when did this start? What did you do to become better? And what we're doing going forward to make sure we have a full and productive life. I think that's more of a conversation than a story. And I think sometimes we need to do that. We need to get that in the open, especially in new relationships, whether it's new friends, new partners, that sort of thing, new family members, like in-laws or, relatives you've not seen for a long time and they've not seen you since a child and suddenly you're 40 and they've not seen you in 20 odd years. Not oversharing, but getting to the point. I think being on point, would help. And it'll make a conversation flow more naturally, and it will get easier the more you do it. Now, what's one small truth you could share with someone this week? I've had to share with the class, should we say? My small truth is I'm not okay. I'm really not okay. It's still very, very raw to talk about what's happened in my life. But it is something I will share in the future when it's okay to do so and when I've got certain permissions to do so. I'm not going to share that without prior permission from the other people involved in this event. So I'm going to be very respectful of them at this time. But yeah, if you want to share your small truths, like say safe space here, we can talk about them. And it's a chance to be brave. It's a big chance to be brave here, to show some strength, and be vulnerable with everybody. Let's say you could be anonymous if you like, and start that conversation with someone about your small truth this week. Micro truth bombs, whichever you want to call it. You can hashtag that if you want. Sounds like good. Could be a t-shirt. But yeah. And has anybody shared a moment where you were honest and it actually helped? Being honest. I think, there is times where it can catch a lot of people off guard where you're being too honest, but sometimes being honest can also help a situation. Could be a relationship of any description. It could be being honest with yourself. That helps you. And I think a lot of us, including myself, have to be honest with ourselves. Living in denial's not a thing. If you want to, that's great, but eventually you're going to have to face that fact that's staring you in the face and probably reflecting back from a mirror. You're going to have to accept that at some point. And it's going to be difficult, no doubt, as any truth is, especially if you don't want to believe it. You're going to have to accept it eventually, and sooner the better. The longer you wait, the anticipation and the dread sets in. So yeah, if you've got a truth that you need to open yourself up to and be honest with and accept, do it in the earliest possible moment. It will help you. Now, who in your life feels safe to be real with? This is all about building safer spaces in your own personal little circles. Now, who in your life feels safe to be real with? Me, obviously, I've touched upon this multiple times. My wife is my source of strength, my support system, my first port of call if I'm in crisis, or I need to be honest and open with someone. And she will ask the difficult questions to me, and I can't ask for any more of that, because she needs me to be open. She needs me to be clear-headed and strong enough to answer them questions, so I can come and do this each and every week. She's that one person where I can be honest, open, and fully vulnerable with, and I know she'd never throw it back at me for whatever I told her. She might bring it up again in a conversation, but never in an argument. Now, what makes someone feel like a safe person? Now, there's a lot of things. You could have, there's no, I don't think there's a set sort of template for a person like that, a safe person. One safe person could be your dear old sweet nan, and your another person's safe person could be someone who looks a bit more different than everybody else. Could be head covered in tattoos, whatever else like that, and they could be a safe person. It's just an exterior. I think it's the interior of a person, never mind the exterior. Regardless of what that person's outer shell looks like, it's the person on the inside. If they've got a good heart to them and they can be truthful with you and honest and open, I don't think what the outer shell looks like matters. So if you think let's I'm not one for stereotypes, but let's just stereotype it. If my safe person is my dear old sweet nan, and she's a lovely person, and for somebody to say that someone who's got a 3-foot high mohawk covered in tattoos and wears a biker jacket is your safe person, who's to say that person's not a good person just because of the way they look? It's completely a false narrative. Some of the nicest people I've ever met have looked a lot different to me, and that's probably better, because you need different kinds of people in your life. Some people are brutally honest. Some people sugarcoat it for you. I prefer people to be brutally honest with me, because I'll be brutally honest in return. And that's how my whole personal circle and my dynamic with my friends work. We're brutally honest with each other. Sometimes it stings, and sometimes we fall on the floor laughing. And I think that's probably the best kind of people I like to be around. Each to their own, different strokes for different folks, whichever way you want to say it. Moving forward with the circle, it is going to be a weekly thing. I am committed to this now, weekly, every week. Obviously, the days in the week are going to change because of my current work schedule. So it will be once a week, every week. But how can we make the circle a place where masks aren't needed anymore? Where we can be all open with us, drop, conversation starters, even future episode topics in the chat, I think. And I think that's a good idea. It's something I can work on to make this better for you and everybody else in the community out there. And also, it'll make me a better person knowing everybody else's preferences. Like I say, there's no hierarchy here. We can all put input into the circle and make it our own. No, it's not just mine. I might be the one on camera, but it's everybody's out there. If you want to be on a future episode with me in a conversation, more than happy. Drop a chat, drop a DM, whichever you want to do. I'm open for that. We can put something in a calendar that's mutually agreeable for all, and we can have a really good conversation. And you know what? I think that'll be a really good future episode going forward. Now, another mini exercise. I'm going to start throwing these in every episode as well, little mini exercises. This one, type one quality of a safe person. Is it kindness, patience, their sense of humour, or their honesty? Me, personally, I like a mixture of humour, a good sense of humour, probably a dark sense of humour to match my own, and some brutal honesty. Kindness and patience, especially when someone's, talking about their mental health, should be something we all have in us. You know, there's different levels of patience and kindness. I get that, that's fine. Not everybody's got the patience of a saint, but we've all got a level of patience. You know, sometimes brutal honesty works, sometimes cracking a joke at the right time works as well, to break that conversation up, and just, you know, it's good to laugh, it's good to smile. And even to stop where the joke takes a dark turn, where many of mine do. Just ask a few of my friends; they'll tell you. I've got a really dark sense of humour, but that gets me through the day. But I'm not offensive with it. I'm not insensitive with it. I read the room first before getting to that level of humour. But we have such a great laugh and stuff like that, and laughing is therapy. I make it a little side mission in my daily thing to have one good belly laugh a day. You know, to the point of nearly crying with laughter. If I can get one of them in a day, I'm all set. It's better than caffeine. It's better than any drug. It makes you feel good, even for a short moment. But just have that, you know, thing where you can laugh about it. I think that's great. I think that's great self-therapy. To that. So yeah, find out what you like in a person, and drop it in the chat. You know, whatever quality you like, and we can build a list and see if we can build, the perfect safe person, and see where we go from there. You know, in future episodes we might come back to that. Who's your safe person? Maybe share that sort of thing. Your safe person, maybe a picture in the chat, whatever. We can build a community of people, maybe even reach out to them, to where we can start building this community of people, where we can all make new friends and stuff like that, and become a team, really. Knights of the Round Table sort of stuff, but there's no King Arthur. We're just like the A team, should we say. We've all got certain skills that benefit for the mission. So yeah, I mean, so what are you taking with you into the weekend and into next week? What are you taking with you after this week's gone by? What are you taking into? Well, I'm taking, you know, what's happened in my life, and I'm trying to come to terms with that, and I'm going to try be getting back to where I was before this happened. I like to say I'm wearing a mask at the minute, but I want to try remove that mask and be back to my, should we say, the real me next week, or even going forward. It might take some more time than that, I don't know, but we'll see where that goes. But what is everybody else taking into the next week? Now, for everybody who's watched this, I'd like to thank you for taking the mask off of me, even if it's just a little bit. And if this video on tonight meant something to you, hit the like, share and subscribe buttons that you can see on the bottom of the screen. And just to close out, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, you don't have to wear a mask in here.